Mahakama Kuu ya Kenya, jiji kuu la Nairobi, saa 3 za asubuhi. Chama cha mawakili nchini LSK kikiongozwa na Ndegwa Njiru kiliwasili tayari kwa maandamano ya amani ili kuishinikiza serikali ya Kenya Kwanza na haswa Rais William Ruto kuheshimu utendakazi wa mahakama.
We are here today to dramatize that we have a new constitution, and the new constitution has its dictates, it has its boundaries, it has clear separation of powers.
Kwa mujibu wa Ndegwa, rais hana budi ila kuheshimu mahakama.
We also here to tell the executive that they must respect other organs that have been established by the constitution. We are here to dramatize to the whole world, to inform them and to inform Mr. William Ruto that he must work within his lane, and he must maintain his lane, and that judiciary is a no-go zone for him, and the judiciary, when it pronounces itself, it speaks for and on behalf of the people.
Amesema kwamba matamshi ya rais ya kila siku yamekuwa yakiwaghadhabisha Wakenya na kuwavunja nyoyo hata zaidi, na haswa mawakili na mahakama kwa ujumla, haswa semi zake za siku ya jana akiwa kaunti ya Nyandarua.
I have heard him yesterday when he was in Nyahururu saying that judiciary is not an elected organ, and therefore for him, because he thinks he's the elected individual, he can triumph over every other person. He can step on the shoulders of every other person. He can step on the toes of any other organ that has been established by the Constitution. We want to remind him that as much as the judiciary is not elected, the judiciary is exercising the sovereignty of the people. We want to remind him, as much as the judiciary is not elected, when you compare the degree of constitutional permanency between the executive and the judiciary, you realize that the person who is much more fluid is the executive, because for him, his certainty his permanency is pegged on 5 years, but the judiciary is here to stay, and it has serious permanency and perpetuity. So we are here to dramatize to the world, to inform Mr. William Ruto that this now goes on. We are here to say that this is a march to freedom, is a march to tell William Ruto that he must cease and desist from intimidating litigants. We are here to inform him that he must cease and desist from intimidating the judiciary.
Amemtaka Rais Ruto kutaja wale anaohisi kwamba wamekuwa wakivunja sheria na kukoma kuingilia utendakazi wa mahakama kwa ujumla.
If there is corruption in the judiciary, the president has only one duty: let him name and shame those that he thinks are corrupt. And I don't want to say that the guilty are always afraid. And I don't want to say what the Bible says, that from the heart the mouth speaketh. If he has practiced bribery of judges before, he should not be afraid that other people will use the same mechanism. He celebrated when the BBI was put down by the court. Is it because he bribed the court? So Mr. William Ruto must maintain his lane. And we are telling him that we are here to stay. We as officers of the court, we as the defenders of the rule of law.
Kwa upande wake rais wa LSK Theuri amesema kwamba wameghadhabishwa na semi za rais na haswa bunge la kitaifa za kutoheshimu maamuzi ya mahakama.
We are disturbed by utterances that are made by the president day in, day out in public gatherings that imply that he is above the law.
Theuri amesisitiza kwamba mbunge yeyote atakayekiuka maamuzi ya mahakama na kuenda kinyume, sheria itakabiliana naye sako kwa bako.
We are also disturbed when we see utterances made by another arm of government, that is Parliament, stating that it will ignore court orders and undertake public participation despite the court stopping the process of implementation of the Housing Bill for 2023. Those actions by Parliament, we want to warn, if they are undertaken, would be an illegal venture. And we are going to initiate proceedings to surcharge anyone in Parliament who will authorize the public participation forums to proceed when there is a court order stopping that process, because that is illegal. They are not using their money, they are using taxpayers' money. And taxpayers' money cannot be used to propagate illegal activity.
Mambo ni matatu hayakuachwa nyuma na chama cha mawakili nchini.
We are aware that the president has issued threats and has said that mambo ni matatu. We want to assure him that for all those options, we are prepared to take those options in defense of our constitution.
Wameapa kutokubali kurudishwa katika zama za uongozi wa kiimla ulioziacha nyingi za familia na makovu yasiyosahaulika.
As a country, we know the history. We know what happened in the years of dictatorship. And we said when we gave ourselves a constitution in 2010 that we are never going back there. And we know that in that process, there are those who lost lives. There are those that were detained. And in honor of their sacrifice, it is our duty and obligation to sustain this war, to sustain the quest for a country that everyone is below the law.
Maandamano yao hayashirii kwa namna yoyote ile ushindani wao wa mahakama na serikali.
So as we undertake this peaceful procession, it is not a contest between the Law Society of Kenya and the executive. It is a march in support of the statehood of the nation of Kenya, because Kenya cannot exist as a country if it is not ruled by the rule of law. So it is important as we undertake this for the public to understand and to join us in this, and to stand with us and to stand with all Kenyans of goodwill to say that if the president would want to say that as a Kenyan he can choose which order of the court to obey or not, what makes it different from any other Kenyan from saying we are not going to obey those orders?
Theuri amewakumbusha Wakenya kuwa nchi ya Kenya ndiyo taifa pekee tulilonalo, na iwapo hatutakuwa makini huenda tukahangaika hata zaidi.
The path that we have taken is a path that can only lead us to one result, and that is anarchy. And so it is upon all of us to come together and to say that this country is all we have. We will not go anywhere else if there is anarchy in this country. And it is important that the institutions that are under and set up under the Constitution are supported, that their authority is not undermined, and that they are allowed to discharge their constitutional functions. And that is not a request that we are going to make, it is an ask by the Constitution, and all we are saying is that that is what the Constitution of Kenya demands.
Amesema hawataketi wakitazama maovu ya kitawala kwa njia iwayo yoyote ile.
We are not going to lie down and watch this country slide into anarchy and into an era of imperial presidency.
Vilevile, Theuri alituma ombi kwa mahakama.
We also want to take this opportunity to urge the judiciary to note that the Law Society stands together with them. They should not feel intimidated or bullied or harassed to make decisions that are in favor of the judiciary. We ask them to make decisions only on the basis of the law and the Constitution.
Kinara wa Wiper Kalonzo Musyoka kwa upande wake amesema kwamba ushuru wa nyumba kamwe hautokubalika, kwani Wakenya wameukataa kwa kinywa kipana.
Why anybody who feels so bad about it, wanting to force judges to issue favorable ruling with regard to the punitive taxes, and more particularly the housing tax. Let them be bold enough and accept. This cannot just be accepted.
Kalonzo amemsihi Jaji Mkuu Martha Koome kutokubali kukandamizwa na serikali ya Kenya Kwanza.
Therefore, Chief Justice Martha Koome and your team, we want to say as Law Society that we stand in solidarity. We are not even here to ask you to issue any favorable orders, but just as the President has said, to do the right thing under the law. If this country is not under the rule of law, then it can only mean we are under the jungle law, and that cannot happen. That's why our parents have spent so much money to get such cream of learned lawyers and other professions. We know if other professions as well had the time, they would also speak the same language.
Amesema mapambano yataendelea hadi pale ambapo Rais William Ruto atasikia kilio cha Wakenya na kuheshimu maamuzi ya mahakama.
So, Mr. President, Aluta continue. The struggle continues. Thank you.
Tekeleza katiba, tekeleza!
Ramadhan Abubakar kutoka East African Law Society alisoma barua yao kwa vyombo vya habari.
Members of the press, allow me, this is a statement by the East African Law Society. I'm going to read it on behalf of our president, Dr. Fawz Twaib. My name is Ramadhan Abubakar and I'm the vice president. To all media houses, in recent weeks, we have witnessed an escalation of attacks on Kenya's judiciary through utterances by various leaders, including the President of the Republic of Kenya, His Excellency Dr. William Ruto. These concerning utterances erode judicial integrity and independence and paint as evil those who legally use courts to challenge government excesses. The East Africa Law Society is deeply concerned about these persistent attacks, which also violate the principle of separation of powers and judicial independence as enshrined in the Kenya's constitution, as well as in various international instruments, including the United Nations Basic Principles on the Independence of the Judiciary, the Bangalore Principles of Judicial Conduct, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the African Charter, and the Commonwealth Principles of the three arms of government. We join the Law Society of Kenya, the Judicial Service Commission, and the Kenyan people in condemning the attacks and urge government officials to refrain from antagonizing the operations of the judiciary with the cornerstone, which is the cornerstone of any just society. The attacks also have the unintended consequence of eroding confidence in the judicial system. It is our assertion that the rule of law is essential for the progress and prosperity of any constitutional democracy, Kenya included. Where grievances are raised against any official in the judicial system, we urge that the same be addressed fairly, procedurally, and within the existing legal frameworks. In solidarity with our sister bar, the Law Society of Kenya, we urge all our members from Kenya to participate in the peaceful protest organized by the society. We shall, as a regional bar, continue to champion and defend the rule of law. Human rights, good governance, accountability, and independence of the judiciary in Kenya and across the East African region. Signed by the President of the East Africa Law Society. Thank you.
Ben Sihanya, ambaye pia ni wakili, alikuwa na haya ya kusema.
Wait a second, let me start. I, then you say your name. I swear by the Almighty God. That I will at all times uphold the rule of law. And administration of justice. And that without fear or favor. I will well and truly discharge. My duties. As an advocate. Of the High Court of Kenya. So help me God.
Hata hivyo, aliyekuwa waziri katika serikali ya Jubilee Eugene Wamalwa naye pia hakuachwa nyuma katika kutetea uhuru wa mahakama.
Ladies and gentlemen of the press, I'm honored to join my colleagues, the Law Society of Kenya, to stand in solidarity with the judiciary that is under a frontal assault by the executive. And today we want to ask Dr. William Ruto to stop his unwarranted attacks on the judiciary. If he has any evidence against any of the judicial officers, let him follow the laid down procedures.
Kurejeshwa katika siku za giza za Nyayo, amekataa kata.
Would also not want to see this country slide back into dictatorship, into the Nyayo era, where we had an overbearing executive and a feeble judiciary, a feeble legislative arm. We say no to those Nyayo days, and anyone who wants to fuata Nyayo, that will not happen under the 2010 Constitution. Thank you and God bless you.
Heshimu mahakama, heshimu!
Wakili Omwanza George upande wake amemwonya Rais William Ruto dhidi ya semi zake na matamshi ya kuikandamiza na kuitelekeza mahakama. Why are we here today?
Now we are here today for one specific reason. The President of the Republic of Kenya made some utterances that are very scary in the architecture of the Constitution. The President made remarks to the effect that he would be attacking the judiciary, and that is why we are here to say that that is a route that he should not dare try to take. That is why we are here today.
Ujumbe waliokuwa nao kwa rais ulikuwa rahisi kwa rais. Naona wakili mmetoka hapa kwa mahakama kuu ambayo inajulikana kama the Supreme Court of Kenya, march all the way to the Parliament Road, mmeenda Parliament buildings all the way to the office of the President. What was the message to the President?
The message to the President is very simple. That court orders must be respected. That the rule of law must be respected. That the Constitution must be upheld. The clear message is that he is in office because we have a constitution. So let him not think that when the constitution does not favor him, then he has to attack the judiciary. Our message is very simple, very clear, and to the point. He must respect the rule of law, period.
Iwapo rais hataheshimu mahakama ambayo ni tume huru,
he has no other choice, but if he wants to take another alternative route, if he wants to dare Kenyans that he wants to walk us through that path, we want to tell him confidently, we are ready for him. We are ready for him.
Na je, ni nini kilichobadilika punde tu baada ya Rais Ruto kuapishwa kama rais wa Kenya?
Respect is conditional. You will not trample on the citizens and then you want us to respect you. Let me just give you a clear example of why he has the obligation to defend this constitution. When he was fighting for BBI, when he was fighting against BBI, it was presumed that he was almost alone on the other side, whereas the government and all the other machinery was against him. That the entire government, the entire state and the entire machinery was in support of BBI. When the court made a decision that BBI was illegal, BBI was unconstitutional, Ruto was in the forefront in praising the judiciary. A few months later, what has changed? But this is normal to any litigant, to any court user. Justice must appear that it has favored one. Justice appears sometimes that it has favored one other side in exclusion of the other. Let the president know something very simple, that the courts are independent. Whatever he gets as a judgment from the court, whatever he gets as an order of the court, so be it. So be it.
George anasema ni kweli kwamba kuna baadhi ya mawakili tapeli mahakamani, ila do you think there are a few corrupt characters in the judiciary?
Fairly speaking, and without lying, without batting an eyelid, without batting an eye, we've got elements that are corrupt. We've got elements that are wayward. You saw the decision the other day from the Judicial Service Commission and the decision from the courts again about one of the judicial officers. So we are not living in a utopian world that there are no corrupt officers. There are corrupt officers. But you as the president who's got the national intelligence apparatus of the country, if you have the information about such a person, bring it forth. There are mechanisms that have been laid down in the procedure on how to handle corrupt judicial officers. It is that simple.
Katibu mkuu wa Jubilee Jeremiah Ngayu Kioni pia anasema serikali ya Kenya Kwanza imeteka nyara idara za serikali ambazo ni huru, ikiwemo bunge la kitaifa.
Virtually all other organs of the state have been captured. by this illegitimate regime of Ruto. We have seen him capture Parliament. We've seen him doing everything that he can under the sun to destabilize Jubilee. For purposes of ensuring that we do not have an oversight institution in the name of Parliament. He's taken over the Constitution Commissions. All the independent offices have been captured. And we are here today to call upon the Judiciary to ensure that they are the last institution that is left standing. Kenyans will depend on their firmness in observing the rule of law. And we have faith in them so that Ruto's dictatorship does not get the full hold of all of us, because that is where he's going.
Kioni ameomba mahakama kusimama na Wakenya wakati huu mgumu.
He intends to amend the constitution without a referendum. He intends to implement many policy decisions that are unconstitutional. And we call upon the judiciary to start with Kenyans. It is the only institution that we can now rely upon. And that's why we are here today. We are encouraged by a number of decisions that they have already made. We know there are many other cases that are before them, and we want them to remain faithful to the Constitution. And we believe that we have enough number of judges who will remain faithful to our Constitution.
Kwa mujibu wa Kioni, amesema hana shida yote ile na Rais William Ruto kujenga nyumba za bei nafuu, ila
William can construct as many houses as he wishes. He can employ as many people as he wishes. But the issue of levying taxes on individuals for purposes of supporting the housing project is what the courts have said is unconstitutional, and he must stop doing that. But again, we will respect that if he was respectful of the institution, even the construction of the houses, he would have stopped. But I really don't think there is much I expect from Ruto in terms of obeying the law. He has already demonstrated it. He said it himself. But we still believe that the little that is left, it is only the judiciary that can help us. But we also call upon him. Yeye mwenyewe aliwekwa kwa hiyo ofisi na hii koti. Na hiyo koti ndio ilisema sisi Azimio hatukushida. Na tukienda tuulize walaia kama pia sisi tulishida, wakisema ndio tuingie State House, yeye atalia. I mean, if you want us to do as he is doing, we'll ask the Kenyans tell us, did we win or did he win? And Kenyans have told us severally that we won. So we can also decide to hear the Kenyans and walk into State House.
Je, mazungumzo ya bipartisan yalifua dafu?
Kenyans are patiently waiting for the outcome of the bipartisan talks that were happening in the Bomas of Kenya.
It's a waste of time. That Nadiko report is a waste of time. Yesterday he was meeting the members of Jubilee in Nakuru. In that bipartisan report, he had said that we talked about the infidelity or fidelity to multi-party constitution. What did we see yesterday? Infidelity occasioned by himself. That guy is a liar by any definition. I mean, and he doesn't mean anything, he says. Yesterday was a clear indication that Nadiko was a waste of time, and he was just buying time so that he can perpetuate his, his legitimate rule on us.
Kioni amedokeza kwamba huenda kukawa na maandamano mapya ya kuishinikiza serikali kuwaheshimu wa Kenya walioipigia kura na haswa utendakazi wa mahakama.
Of course, when that time comes, you will be told. But there is no reason why we cannot. But it's good to see the lawyers also in the road, in the streets. And now, by the way, Kenyans are already in the streets. Ni vile tu uoni wakipiga kelele, lakini ukiliza hawa wote wanatembea. If you saw it in Nyahururu, Kenyans are already demonstrating against this guy. Mama amebeba mtoto, anapita mbele ya rais akiongea na hamwangalii. That's demonstration.
Wakili Kipkoech Bernard Ngetich, ambaye pia anawania kiti cha urais ndani ya LSK, amemtaka rais kufuata mkondo mmoja pekee.
Ningependa kusema kwamba kulingana na kipengele cha pili na kipengele cha 10 ya katiba ya Kenya, barabara ni moja. Barabara ni kwamba kila mtu katika taifa hili letu la Kenya anaongoza na kuongozwa chini ya katiba ya Kenya. Na tunamwambia Rais William Samoei Ruto kwamba barabara ni moja. Lazima akubali kufuata katiba. Na katiba inasema kama kuna jaji kama kuna hakimu ambaye amekiuka katiba, barabara ni kupeleka malalamishi katika tume ya kuajiri majaji na mahakimu ambao watachunguza.
Hakuachia hapo tu, amesema lazima na sharti rais awaombe wa Kenya msamaha.
Kwa hivyo namwambia rais aombe msamaha kwa yale ambao amekuwa akitishia, na akome mara moja kutishia Wakenya, kutishia idara ya mahakama, kwa sababu idara ya mahakama haimfanyii kazi. Idara ya mahakama imetengenezwa na katiba ya Kenya na kazi yake ni kuhudumia Wakenya kulingana na kipengele cha 48 ya katiba ya Kenya. Namwambia rais aombe msamaha na ahakikishie Wakenya kwamba atarudia hayo makosa ya kutishia majaji, kutishia mahakimu na kutishia idara ya mahakama, kwa sababu idara ya mahakama imebuniwa na Wakenya ambao walipitisha katiba.
Ili Rais Ruto asaidike, sharti afanye nini?
Kuna katiba moja katika taifa hili letu la Kenya na yeye yuko chini ya katiba. Apeleke malalamishi yake kwa tume hii ya kupeleleza na kuchunguza mahakimu na majaji ambao pengine wanashukiwa kuhusika katika ufisadi na mambo mengine kinyume cha katiba ya Kenya.
Wamesema kwamba hawana budi ila kila ambacho anamtaka Rais William Ruto ni kuheshimu utendakazi wa mahakama, kwani hakuna aliye juu ya sheria, kwani sheria inatulinda sote, na mabango ambayo ameyabeba yamehanikiza ushuhuda mwingi tofauti na jumbe ambazo zinaelekezwa haswa katika afisi ya Rais William Ruto, akiwa ndio rais na amiri jeshi mkuu, kuheshimu utendakazi wa mahakama. Kwa hivyo nikiripotia Mo Radio kutoka hapa, tunazungumzia katika mahakama makuu kwa maana ya the Supreme Court of Kenya hapa jijini Nairobi. Jina langu ni Ronnie Regan.
Mo Radio 88.2 FM. We are in charge.